I feel like at some point she gets killed by the monster somehow, but I don't know how.
The classic is always getting punched from behind through the chest, because you have like a solid emotional beat with them, and it's like, yeah, I forgive you. You're right. I can finally move on. Oh.
Hello, and welcome to StoryFellas, the podcast where we make stories and we break stories. I'm your host, Tommy Antonucci.
And I'm your host, Zach Lovelace.
And we're here, and we're ready to tell some stories. I actually have a note for future episodes going forward. A new genre of episode, which, don't get too excited. This is just more of an alternate. What me and Zach have talked that some of our episodes have such lore to them. There's so much world building to define what's happening in the background that I want to introduce an idea of an episode called World Builders. So it's different than the story scrap or story game. And they might actually start out as one of those, but they might turn into a World Builders episode. And what that means.
It's a helpful tag. It's a helpful tag for those listening that you're going to get into something that maybe doesn't resolve itself at the end. We're giving ourselves the out.
Yeah. Basically, the idea is we've done some of these episodes and we've spent so much time defining the world and creating the world that we have like 10 minutes to actually make a story with like people in the world. And usually it feels a little rushed. So if we determine halfway through an episode that it's a World Builders episode, then we will just focus on the world. Oh, yeah, we'll start over. We'll focus on the world. We might not tell a story in the world, but we will try to come back to that in future episodes and actually put some characters in it. Yeah. But I think it'll just make a more richer experience for both episodes if we just take our time with it.
Agreed. And a little grace as we figure out some of the boundaries on these things, because, obviously those hardcore StoryFellas listeners who have lived through the first few World Builders episodes will know that we have that kind of awareness that it's happening when it's happening, but yeah, just bear with us as we kind of figure it out, get our sea legs, so to speak.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking around to keep it. Yeah. Keep on listening to these. Speaking of stories, Zach, I feel like you had something you wanted to tell me.
Yeah. So Tommy and I have taken a week off. You guys don't know how the schedule works for us, but we're like way ahead in terms of we have a buffer and
we're in the future.
We're in the future. You guys are losers in the past. And we're recording episodes right on the money. But last week we ate a little of our buffer. Tommy went out of town. And so we were, in different time zones, in different countries. We're all over. I have like a hair in my mouth. Wow.
You really lost momentum.
Yeah. Sorry. So we haven't seen each other. So I held on to this story for the past couple of weeks because I haven't told Tommy, but I told him I would tell him on StoryFellas. So,
yeah, I got a text message. You're like, dude, I have a story to tell you, but I'm not telling you until next time we talk.
Yeah, because it was just wild, man. It was wild. So I got to set the table for you guys. I got to set. It's a little bit of a prologue here. Well, I swear we'll get to a story game, but I'll make it quick. I'm at work. I work at an agency, okay, and there is a designer there, and he will go unnamed for his own sake. But and if he listens to this, you know who I'm talking about. But he's a young guy like myself, loves Pokemon, is like a similar age, and of like similar kind of worldview as me. And we're starting to have like a budding friendship. Okay. We both like kind of like working out, we're talking about working out over the summer, like on our lunch breaks and stuff, whatever. Again, a budding friendship. And I kind of marked the beginning of our friendship was when the first time he asked me to arm wrestle him. And so this was a couple months ago.
That's how you become fast friends with someone.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think he would agree too. It's like, we both that's just when we both were like, hey, I kind of thought about arm wrestling you and you want to arm wrestle me. He's like, oh, I've always thought about that. Yeah, let's do it. And so we did it and I beat him on the right arm and he beats me on the left arm. It's like a perfect draw. Right. So the other day, we had some sort of work event. And it was like games and we had teams, okay? And it was split up between the two of us and he was on one team and I was on the other. And for some reason, the office was like, oh, Zach and the other guy should do push-ups to solve to tie break or whatever. And so it was like, just do them until you can't. Like, that's the whole thing, which push-ups aren't really my forte. So whatever. He destroys me. He destroys me. It was like 80 something to 50 something. I just say that because it just colors the rest of the day. So we're like, afterwards, he's downstairs with me and he's like, I guess he's still kind of hyped on the activities that we did and beating me. He's like, we should arm wrestle again. And I was like, okay. I mean, I had invited him over for dinner that night. So I was like, what do you mean, like tonight? And he's like, no, like right now. Like, if we're talking about it, we might as well do it. And there were some other people around, like older guys. And he asked them and they're like, no, we don't want to arm wrestle, whatever. So we go all the way up to our like top little crow's nest office. And there's a highway table there, like perfect for arm wrestling. You can perfectly reach each other. It's circular. Anyway, we get up there, all this hype. You don't even know where this story is going, Tommy. So we get into arm wrestling and I get him again. And I got really into arm wrestling a couple years ago, like really into it, watching YouTube, like looking to find groups to meet up in person. I never actually ended up doing it. But that said, I have a little bit of technique in my mind. Like I know a little bit of the biomechanics, just enough. I'm not saying I'm good, but it's just enough to know like how it works. And so we're in the match and I get him at about here, which for those listening is like probably like 8 o'clock like, on the clock face, on my side of midnight. And I got him right there. And I had his hand, like my hand was this close to my face. And I remember thinking like, I got him. This is the same feeling I had when I beat him the first time. And then this loud snapping noise happens.
Oh no.
He broke his arm.
Oh my word.
It's the humerus right here. Yeah. Right above the elbow.
He broke it or you broke it?
Well, that's been the dilemma in my mind is like, I think he's actually probably stronger than me. So I like to think maybe 51%, I just had more technique, but not like arm breaking technique. Well, I don't know.
It was the bottom part. It was like,
so if you walk off,
under his elbow.
Yeah. So it's the humerus, which is this bone right here.
Which Zach is pointing like like where it is under his bicep, the bottom side of the arm.
So I thought it was his forearm to begin with, kind of like Jeff Goldblum's The Fly. If anybody's seen The Fly, he gets like fly powers and goes and arm wrestles a guy and it breaks like right in the forearm just because I was holding his hand, right? And I felt it and I heard it too. And there's just like your mind is so much faster in those moments than you are in some way. Like I was just like, he immediately sat up and was like, what was that? And I was like, you just broke your arm. And we both kind of just like, what in the world is happening here? And he like holds his arm.
So he didn't, did he yelp or anything?
No. Oh. I mean, he's a total stud. Like he did not give any indication that he was in pain whatsoever. It was only the woody, like somebody had snapped a ruler sound that really indicated to me that he had broken his arm.
My gosh.
And he wasn't able to use it too. I think he just kind of intuited that. So he was holding it, but I imagine it hurt him a lot. I mean, reading online, it's called a humeral distal fracture. So it's a torque type fracture that happens when you lock your elbow off and obviously you're arm wrestling and you think arm wrestling is about pushing and it's not. It's about pulling. So you are pulling the other person over. And so instead of doing this, like you just on the table, I'm far away from the mic, but if you're like this and you're just trying to do that with your arm and just your arm is moving, that's how you're going to break your bone. Because you're locking it all up and you're locked off on the elbow and the fulcrum of your elbow is taken away. So it goes up the bone as opposed to being on the elbow. It can't use the elbow anymore. So anyway, it's a torque-like fracture because you're pushing one way, I'm pushing the other way, and the muscles crush the bone. And
gosh,
it snapped in half, dude. It was crazy. It didn't poke out of the skin or anything, but I saw an X-ray like later that day. I walk him downstairs, and I'm like, tenderly. I went immediately from like aggressor kind of competitive mode to being a nurse, and it was just like, all right, man, you got to come with me. Come on, we're gonna go downstairs. And then we found our office manager, and I was like, so. He just broke his arm.
We don't know how it just happened.
Yeah. No, I admitted to it, and we fessed up, but like everyone was just going ballistic in the office because, how does that happen? And it is a fluke thing. It happens within arm wrestling a lot, but just like normal people, definitely not, and we had arm wrestled before. So it's not like I'm assuming it was the technique that he used, but he's having surgery tomorrow, and God bless
Oh my
him.
gosh.
He's got to have a plate and screws put in. Yeah, but he's a young guy. He'll bounce back, and he's been very gracious because I felt terrible. Okay, I felt terrible. I felt guilty. And I was texting him up a storm after we got him in the car, and one of our account managers drove him to the hospital, and he was just like, "Don't worry about it, man. Like, it was my fault. I asked you to do it. Like, not break my arm, but I asked you to wrestle me."
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and it kind of, interrupted my whole life a little bit. And so I texted you and was just like, dude, I have something to tell you, man. And I can't wait to tell you on microphone. So I accidentally broke my friend's arm. And I've never hurt anyone like that. I've never hurt anyone that drastically, like ever. And I got into a head-on collision one time in a car and I broke a lady's thumb, but that's nothing compared to a friend's arm, right? You're so
Dude,
quiet now.
Stories. Yeah, no, I'm just like standing for people not watching. I'm just like mouth agape, like listening to this story because that's not the direction I thought this was going.
Me neither, man. Me neither.
Well, first off, I don't think you're to blame. I totally would feel the same way, but it's also like you guys are doing like a sport.
It's a sport
with each other,
totally.
And it's not like you took a hammer to his arm while this is happening.
Yeah, it's
but
intentional in any way, but it's still like it messes with you. So it's like he's hung it up. He's like, I'll probably never arm wrestle again, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I will either. Because one, I feel bad about it. And I don't want that to happen again. But also, two, it's such clout to just be like the last guy I arm wrestled, I broke his arm. So I don't want to do it again.
I was going to say, is there that little, I know you feel bad about it, but is there that little bit of like, no, it is like that internal resume of just like, yeah, I broke a guy's arm while arm wrestling.
I mean, that resume is written in stone now, man. I mean, it's certainly anytime you do a 2 truths and a lie, that's going to be in there for me. Getting arrested, breaking a guy's arm wrestling, and I don't know, something else, something way more believable. But yeah, I've been praying for him daily. My daughter's been praying for him, which is great. Like she's 2 years old, but she's like, oh, praying for his arm to be healed.
She's like, please make my dad weaker. He's too strong.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, dude, I don't think. It has a lot to do with more his technique than.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware too. Like I've not looked at to the degree of that you have, but I do know it's like there's a lot of technique in it. It's like how you do it, and it's more 100%. About the leverage and fulcrum rather than just sheer strength.
Yeah, the guy, I watched tons of videos right afterwards too about like how that type of thing happens, and the guy was talking about how when you are arm wrestling, again, you're pulling, you're not pushing the other guy. You're pulling him across the table pretty much. And your head should be parallel to your arm. So you're going like this, you don't do that. Like just your arm is moving. That's like an indicator that you're headed for breakdown. Anyway.
Man. Well, dude, thank you for sharing the story. I thought you were going to say something like, I don't know, like, I thought it was something with the friendship route of the story. It's like we got a budding friendship and stuff.
We still do, which is amazing. Yeah. I like truly. It's like part of it that has kind of messed with my head a little bit. It's like it would be more understandable to me if it happened to somebody I didn't even know. But it's the fact that we were already kind of on a warm up trajectory where it's like, oh yeah, it's cool. He was supposed to come to my house for dinner that night. And then I called Kate and was like, hey, so he's not coming over anymore. Because I broke his arm. And she's like, we were supposed to go shooting that day too. We were supposed to go shooting on our lunch break, but it got bumped for whatever reason. So she thought that I had shot him. So at least it was a little less than
You're like, no, it was arm wrestling.
Yeah. No, we decided we scrapped the shooting and we decided to arm wrestle, and then I broke his arm. So yeah. But man, they had to add something to the handbook at work. Like, hey, no
arm wrestling,
horsing around, whatever it is. And it's like, okay, they actually took it really on the chin and were more concerned with other things like his health, obviously. But Yeah. So
Well,
Lord bless him. I hope he heals up well. And if he's listening to this, you know who you are, and you know I'm very sorry, and you know the Lord's got your back. That's all I gotta say.
that's a wild story, man. That is, yeah. I thought
bonus story for you folks.
Little bonus, like a little starter story, little starter pack story that's real, grounded in truth.
So Tommy, let's get this. Let's if you want to process it a little bit more, that's fine. I've had a couple weeks now, but yeah.
No, I'll just talk to you. I'll text you after the episode. I'm like really broke it? like I'll still be on this.
No way.
Or midway through the episode. No way. You made this up.
It's very uncomfortable.
No, let's play a story game. Let's get into a game. All of these prompts I have here have to do with breaking arms and arm wrestling. So we'll see.
I figured all.
But can you?
Ironically,
I'm gonna need you to roll a die for me.
Google Dice or whatever this is stupid. I'm gonna roll an 8-sided dice. Okay. Hope you don't mind.
Yeah, do it. That works.
I rolled a 7.
All right, cool. Let's see how far we deviate from this prompt. So the prompt is, we'll see. Actually, this is one of my newer ones. I thought about this the other day, and I was like, this is kind of interesting, and I feel like we could put some of our classic StoryFellas gasoline on it. Yeah. A man is hunted by an otherworldly creature, but only when he is actively in love. What happens when he meets the girl of his dreams?
Ooh, so that's actually solid, man. I can't believe you thought that would suck. You thought that would suck.
You're like,
really thought
you're like love. You're like love. Boring.
He's in love. How do you quantify that, Tommy? How do you quantify that? Really? How does this monster know?
How does it work? What are the rules of this monster?
Yeah, I smell a world building episode.
I will see. I think we only have to build this creature. Because I was thinking the other day of this thing where it's like, okay, like something of a creature that slowly, like I've never seen It Follows, but I think that's kind of similar, like this creature.
Yeah.
But then I was like, what's an interesting mechanic that like draws the creature? And I was like, being in love is like, because it's not super quantifiable. Mm-hmm. It's not like plus it's like your alternate means like, oh, he knows like he has to be alone. That's like how to be safe. But then what kind of life is that if he has to be alone?
That's good.
So I think there's some interesting things.
Yeah, he chooses to be in danger. There. And yeah, I like that a lot. I think, drawing the It Follows comparison does hurt it a little bit. It Follows had a really clear mechanic. You have sex with this person, that monster is yours now. And had a really
it just passes the monster along, basically, right?
Yeah, it's essentially an STD that you pass on by having sex with people. And it always takes the form of different people that it has killed, I guess, or that have had the curse at some point. I guess everybody before you would have died.
So the It Follows monster looks like a humanoid? Mm-hmm. It just looks like human?
Yeah, it's just like an average person.
Interesting.
Nobody can see it, and it's like in a different face every time. Like sometimes it's an old lady. Sometimes
does the person see it? The person who owns the monster?
The person who it's a curse to them. Yeah, they see it. They're the only one who could see it. But it's really just invisible. And I think that might be where it kind of jumps the shark as opposed to being just completely intangible. Yeah, I think there's some criticism that some folks have had with that movie is that ultimately the monster is just invisible. So there are a lot of video essays about like how to beat it. Because it's a real thing and it's just walking around. You could technically just catch it and like put it in a big hole. It's not supernatural any more than that, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming it is.
And
I don't know.
That's one interesting thing I thought of if we wanted to go that route of saying like our main protagonist dude, maybe it's like this monster for most of his life has been scary, so he's not had any close relationships, and then when he actually like finds someone he cares about, he's like, all right, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to kill this because it's not gonna kill me. Like I think like go to war against the creature. So would be kind of cool.
I think the whole thing would be that it kills the person he loves.
So it doesn't come after him. It comes after whoever he's attached to. I think, that's nice and heavy.
It's a differentiator anyway, because otherwise it's like, okay, he falls out of love, and then Or would he ever really fall out of love? That's the problem too, is like it killing the thing actually takes it away from him, which is nice. Like him killing the people, the women.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like, and then the monster's gone after it kills the people,
then
right?
It disappears. Yeah. And he's just like, well, that sucked.
Yeah. And then maybe, it's just,
yeah, I'm trying to think, like maybe it started out young with like a dog that he loved, and then it kills the dog. And he just slowly learns the rules of this thing.
Like maybe how close he can get. Because I like the idea of him like getting, like starting to make friendships, or like, and he gets chummy. They're arm wrestling at work or something.
Oh yeah.
And then and then like he's like they're arm wrestling, and then he looks in the corner, and like the thing's like in the corner, like the creature is just in the corner of the room, and then he's like, we can't hang out anymore. And he breaks the guy's arm.
How's that? Yeah, no, I think it has to be romantic love, because otherwise it's too messy. It has to be romantic love. So I guess a dog is out of the question.
I was just gonna say, you just said dog. He's like, I really love this dog.
I'm very clear of what the picture I'm painting. Yes. Okay, that's cool. Okay. I think it's definitely Shaun of the Dead style comedy with this thing.
Okay. Just make it comedy. Yeah, I think that's good, because I'm picturing a real, like, it's a heavy movie, and it's like, it feels too like blah, but as a comedy, I think it could be good.
Yeah, I think it's another way to differentiate it from It Follows as well. That being a serious movie takes its monster very seriously. It's all damagey, whereas this is just simple, and it's the one guy too. Like, how does he can he get the cursed thing to go somewhere else?
Yeah. What if we're going to make this comedy, do we want to make this like his imaginary friend as a kid that is extremely jealous to the point of killing
I mean, we can. I'm not as interested in that. I thought you were going to say Cupid of some kind. Like you make Cupid the monster. I don't know. I'm trying to trace your thoughts here, man. Yeah.
I wasn't going to say Cupid. Just a monster. I just mean, like, if it's a comedy, do we want to make the monster talk to him, like communicate with him? It's like, I guess that's he's like, I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna kill her.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna kill her.
I'm gonna do it, man.
I
swear.
I think like Shaun of the Dead, the zombies are taken pretty seriously. Like it gets made fun of. Yeah. But the zombies themselves are pretty serious.
They're like real zombies, and the humor's like in the situations
thing. Yeah, because it's a comedy because of the situation is so serious. I don't think it's a comedy just because, like I imagine that the curse was given to him from his dad. And he's like, I imagine his dad like drunk one night on the porch, and he's young, and he tells him like, it's going to be yours one day, whatever he's talking about. And he's like, maybe he just has lived with his single dad his whole life or whatever. And just adding that level of devastation. We've talked about that before, that darker contrast. It's actually in the really dark, you get a lot of great humor. So this kind of inescapable family thing is going to kill the loves of his life. I think that's actually something really relatable too. You marry a girl, or you start dating her, and she has to meet your family. And it turns out that, maybe the monster looks like all of his family members. It's like a giant ball of them, just like rolls around. Or it's like an amalgamation of them, kind of mutated version of it. That'd be kind of cool. That's a little on the nose, I guess.
Yeah, I could see like some sort of like No Face from Spirited Away, but the mask is like shifts from like different family members or people he's loved or something. But it's like the creature is like clearly this big beast of a thing behind the mask. Like something like that is kind of cool.
Yeah.
If the comedy introduced, I'm kind of picturing just Simon Pegg, just because I think of what we're talking about. It doesn't have to be Simon Pegg. But is the comedy like, I'm trying to find the instances of what makes this a comedy. Like, is he falling in love with this girl, and when the creature comes, like he's like kind of like, hey, we should get moving, and like keeps on like moving her along so that the creature's super slow.
Yeah, maybe
and hulking.
Sorry, I'm a little sick, folks, so you got to just bear with me here. I think the comedy comes from that he really falls for this girl and is like, well, we got it. He's trying to move it really fast. And so it's like, hey, we should elope, we should get married or we should go on a road trip together. And she kind of figures it out as it goes on that he's being followed by something and hunted. And yeah, I think we have to have a supporting character in some way because otherwise, like, nobody dies. Well, I guess people in the beginning, if you kind of just open up with his like college girlfriend getting killed by it.
Yeah, I did. I was thinking like early on, like a couple of years ago, where he's like trying to date someone and like it's going, and then like she just gets like creamed by this monster. Oh yeah. And then he's like, oh, I do think this like fun. They could also introduce. Okay, maybe this is the comedy thing. Like this is like the comedy is tension between the couple because this couple, Simon Pegg and other person, we'll give them names in a minute. Kind of start falling for each other. And that could be funnier if we don't introduce it beforehand. Like we are just with them in the present of them, like kind of falling in love. And then he's like, hey, we should really get this going. And it's like, they're in Vegas or wherever, and they like elope and they're just like, hey, we're going to go on a honeymoon and we're going to go on a trip. And then like this monster shows up. And then she's like, and he's like, he knows about it. And he's like trying to, and they get out of Dodge and the monster like loses track of him. And she's like, is that thing trying to hunt you down? And he's like, actually, it's trying to hunt you down. I'm really sorry about that. And then she's mad. And she's like, what? You never told me? He's like, yeah, it's whoever I'm in love with. And then that adds like this layer of tension that like, he's like, I really do love you. Like we love each other. I'm sorry, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's an interesting
thing. They have the second act break where they get mad at each other and she runs away and he has to save her.
Yeah. Like, he's like,
how do you actually stop the monster? I think is the real, because if it's just getting married or something, then you would just do it as fast as you could. Right.
Yeah. I feel like
he even says that. He's like, I've been married like 3 times.
Yeah. I thought that's a really funny line of like, I really thought marriage would do it. And
it did. He threw him off.
Yeah, threw him off. But then he eventually got my first wife, and I was like, well, maybe the second one will take. And then, like immediately after that marriage, he obliterated her. She was gone.
Yeah, and then his third wife, I like this. His third wife, he divorced her, right, and like convinced her that it was real or whatever, or maybe just drove her away essentially. But then she comes back into play. Because she's jealous now. She like wants him. She never really stopped loving him kind of thing. And so she shows up with like trying to kill him now. Like, if funny. I can't have him, nobody can kind of thing.
Yeah. Does she know the monster exists or does she not believe in the monster?
I think she probably doesn't believe in it.
Okay. She's like, yes, you were full of it. That monster was. Yeah. I think that's funny. That's a fun dynamic. I'm picturing some like kind of night and day kind of that weird, like, except no one's an action star in this. They're just this weird situation. What does the monster look like? What do you want it to look like? Because I kind of like it kind of being this like big.
I think it being big and truly monstrous, not really resembling a human at all. I think that's
just like a beast.
Yeah. I think
just some sort of
maybe
big beast.
It could, to add some level of interest, you could make it shapeshift kind of like It Follows. But then I don't know. I like that it's only he can see it.
I like that the girl can see it too. Like if he's in love with someone, they can also see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
I think that's so funny.
Let's go up the chain a little bit. If it was his dad's to begin with, what does that kind of mean? Maybe he was cursed by something or someone. Back in the day, like,
yeah, he's like, I dated a woman that turned out to be a witch, and she cursed me or something. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what the origin of it is. Like, it could just be like it goes back generations. We don't really know where it came from.
Yeah.
Which
I think that's fine. Like, I think that level of mystery is okay.
He's like we had you. He's like an only child. It's like we had you. We thought we got away from it. because like normally we had enough time to have a baby, but
yeah, maybe they
lo and behold, it came. Yeah. If you move enough, then you can outsmart it, but it caught up to us.
Because is it
we got lazy.
in any way? Like, it just obviously knows where he's at. Like it can smell him.
Mm-hmm.
It can smell love.
Yeah.
I kind of like it being a big dog at that point, like some sort of mutant dog. You remember the Ang Lee's Hulk?
Yeah, some sort of something like that.
Those big those big dogs from Ang Lee's Hulk.
Oh, the big those big dogs. Gamma something dogs. Like that. Just some. Just like something that's like four legs and so like hairy.
But yeah, that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just a big hairy mass coming for you. I mean, it comes down to what is
something between that and like Alpha from Avatar, like that bison from Avatar.
Appa, yeah,
but like small, not that big. Alpha.
Yeah, I think it comes.
Is it Alpha? Holy cow!
Yeah, it's Appa. Yeah, Appa. APPA. Yip. Come on, man. What do you call yourself a fan? You call yourself what are you? You say you told me off mic, you're like, Zach, I'm kind of like the airbender. I'm kind of like the Avatar of the StoryFellas series. So you really should like listen to my ideas and stuff. You're really more of like the, firebending guy. I can't remember his name. The firebending guy.
Who's Zuko? Prince Zuko?
Exactly. No, Uncle Iroh. You're like Uncle Iroh, but like
Iroh.
Iroh.
It's Uncle Iroh.
Uncle Iroh. Yeah. That's
oh right. Man.
Anyway, so
Uncle Iroh when he's fat before he gets shredded and like cleans house.
But anyway, back to our story here. The monster has to take the form of something thematically related to his problem. So something love oriented. I don't know if the Cupid is really that far off, to be totally honest.
Like a little like a demon Cupid.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It's like, just little chubby, cute thing, and comes for him. It comes from. I think that would be funny too, right?
I think that would be funny if he's like talks about the monster. It's like it's upon them, and he's like, "I didn't tell you. There's this monster, and this is like little like flying baby."
Yeah.
It's like do shooting arrows.
Yeah, that actually be really scary. It's like shoot, like shoots arrows at them.
Yeah,
that's cool. Although it's like, why is it Cupid? Wouldn't Cupid want to make them fall in love?
Well, that's where I don't think it is. It's like an off-brand Cupid. It's like anti-Cupid.
Okay. Hatred Cupid. The opposite of love.
His name's Stupid.
Yeah, stupid. Yeah. The opposite of love is indifference, though. It's coldness. Ooh, maybe it's a cold monster. Because that's what his exterior would be, right? Is that he would be like a cold guy to kind of drive people away.
Mm-hmm.
But he's really a softie on the inside.
Okay. So you're hopping really fast. Do you want Cupid? Do you want Ice Monster?
No to Cupid. You're right.
Let's just do like a little Yeti then, like an ice monster Yeti. That's kind of fun.
That's true. A Yeti feels a little out of place.
It doesn't have to be like Monsters Inc. Yeti, but I'm just thinking of like some like what I keep picturing, whether it's on 4 legs or 2, is like something that's like has like its limbs, but it's got so much like hair on it that you can't really make out the shape of it. It's just like this big like husk of a thing, but then it's like big and daunting and scary.
I'm going to double back again.
Okay. It's Cupid again.
I like Cupid. No, I think it probably is best served if it's a feminine form.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Because there's almost this like active jealousy a little bit like this.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yes. So she could be kind of like the Ring, drippy, gross, or we could make her different. We could make her, it's just a feminine thing that's become obsessed with him and his family. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it can suffer no envy at all. And it kills from envy all the time. And that's actually what's interesting about the third wife coming in. that she kills from envy as well, or is trying to anyway.
Since this monster is the most humanoid, would we want to give them some consciousness? Like, would they talk? Like, that could be something. That's like actually, where it's like I'm she talks back, and she's like, you're like, she's like, you can't have another woman in your life. Like, she is very possessive. Yeah, because I think that could introduce some funny dialogue between main characters and her and like the ex-wife.
Yeah.
It would be, I don't know. I want to tie the ex-wife. Like, I want her to, I don't know. It's funny if she can't see the monster and keeps getting involved and like interrupting things.
Yes. Yeah, she's just a secondary bad guy.
Yeah. I feel like at some point she gets killed by the monster somehow, but I don't know how.
The classic is always getting punched from behind through the chest, because you have like a solid emotional beat with them, and it's like, yeah, I forgive you. You're right. I can finally move on. Oh.
I was thinking this is really stupid, so I don't think we're gonna be able to make it happen. But I was having the thought of where the ex-wife gets like dangerously jealous, and to the point like she's gonna cause them harm, and then the current wife is like, you have to love her. You have to direct your love to her. Oh, and he's just like, ugh, and then like somehow has to like feign enough love that it's like the monster, like, and then she sees the monster. She's like, oh, you were telling the monster kills
the monster. That's funny. Yeah. It's like he's there's this moment in the remake of The Village of the Damned with Christopher Reeve where the psychic children are going to blow something up, or they're gonna like take over the world essentially, and they're like, they have blonde hair and they're psychic, whatever, you can look it up. And Christopher Reeve has a bomb, and he goes in and he has to not think about the bomb because they're gonna psychically penetrate his mind. And so he just thinks about a brick wall. And they're like, it kind of just illustrates or symbolizes their psychic attack. Like you see the brick wall starting to crack. And he's just like, oh, and he's like standing there waiting for the bomb to go off essentially. And then they finally bust through the brick wall and they see the bomb, and then they just look up. It reminds me of that a little bit, where it's like he would have visions of his life with his ex-wife. But I know what the monster is now. Okay. The monster is,
you're changing it again?
No. I'm snapping it all together.
Okay.
The monster is mommy issues. Okay. So it's actually his mom, that he has a single mom that is like overbearing and like no girl can be good enough for her kind of thing. And so, or good enough for her boy. Right. And so she sends out this thing without realizing it, potentially. Or maybe my mom's actually been in a coma for like 30 years. And that's the whole thing, is like, it's her ghost, it's her energy or something. I don't know. Again, it's the mommy issues thing that I think really works, because that's very real and very relatable, is that the mother, and we can keep it secret that maybe it's his mom, or that his mom's the key of it or whatever. But yeah, what do you think about that?
I feel like that could work. It leans more into the comedy of, it's like, oh, mom, it's because it's not a jealous ghost thing. It's like a jealous mommy issues ghost.
That would be the source of the ghost. It's
my only argument is it doesn't pass down over generations at that point. It's just a him thing. Because
That's true. That's very true.
Where it's like, if they have an ancestor who is like, my great so-and-so was like cheated on by her husband, and then she killed him, and then she died, and then it's her ghost that is like, is preventing all the men from falling in love in the family. I feel like something like that
is the central issue, is like the form of the creature symbolically is the issue, because that tells you the origin, it tells you, and the character is even wrapped up in that. Because if it's his mom, I have a very clear understanding of what that story looks like. Whereas if it's just some force that has made its way onto him, you have to explain how that happened, or at least allude to it, like, okay, it was a generational curse based on this type of event, because then that's related to how they beat it, which
I think could be like, it could be this idea of, if it was more ancestral if it was happened years ago.
Ooh.
And it's this like unfaithful thing. Let me finish. This unfaithful thing. Then it's about, and then it causes the men to like not be good steward. They are not being good husbands because they're always they're either aloof or they're rushing things or they're trying to like the whole generation. So it's like, it's kind of like him overcoming that, like actually stepping up to be a good husband and a good male leader and a good like person. And like, even cool. Like maybe confronting the ghost and being like, hey, what happened to you was not fair. And I'm sorry about that. Like something like that, where he has this, and his stepping up and owning up to it is what resolves the things where like the men before just kind of tried to take shortcuts like he's doing, but he realizes, oh, I just need to face this head on.
So that's his arc, is to like face it head on, like determining that, I guess in the past when he's let it, or maybe not let it kill his ex-wives, or his wives, but that wasn't him confronting it. He was running away in some way, like he didn't protect his wife.
Well, like the fact that there's something to be said that he knows this thing kills the women. If he's been married 3 times and 2 of them got murdered and then the one just didn't work out. And then he keeps on trying, like, it's like, all right, well, he's pursuing love out of a very selfish perspective at that point. Yeah. So we could draw him back where I'm sure the girl, his current wife, would be upset that she, like, it's like, this happened several times and you've not talked to, you didn't tell me about this. And then him realizing that, I don't know, kind of the story is the love is not, it's not about him. It's about being loving to someone else and cherishing someone else. So that could be a route. I don't have it all ironed out.
I don't mind that.
But we could do the idea.
I had a
other one too.
Idea.
All right, hit me with it.
All right, so this is to try and stop this from being a world building episode.
Okay, yeah.
My one effort is we open up on a young man named Taylor, played by Channing Tatum. Okay. And him and his father and maybe his father's father have all worked in the same lab, right? It's a chimp lab. Okay, so when he was young, he would go and visit his dad at work. My brother happens to work with primates. Okay, so I'm something of an expert. Okay. And he says that the female monkeys and apes will flirt with you. And I think he's working at a lab that experiments on them. And this thing is flirting with him. He meets it as a kid. And then finally it like gets morphed into whatever horrendous monster. And it has only shown up once before, or maybe twice. Twice is a lot, actually. But this super ape thing shows up, and that's the monster. So it can be intelligent and it's monstrous, but it's like it's an animal and it loves him. I think that's interesting. It's somewhat sympathetic. It's not generational at all. We're going kind of like raw materialist with this in terms of our monster construction. But there is a little bit of that, it has all this explanatory power to it. And then we can just juice it up and it's just this crazy, crazy chimps are scary. And so this idea that it attacks the women in his life, or the romantic leads, that makes sense because it can like smell when he loves them. And you'd have to wonder like, okay, so how is it hunting him down across the country or whatever? And he doesn't know. I don't know. We just make it really, really local, right? Like we shrink it back down to being, it's just a new lab tech starts. He gets to meet this new doctor or whatever, and he starts falling for her. And that's when, whatever her name is, Eve, the evil chimp, female chimp escapes. And he has
Evil Eve. I like it.
Evil Eve. And so she hunts them down, and it's just that one story. It's like he's fallen for this woman, and so she's trying to kill this woman. They're trying to kill that poor woman. Big Lebowski. I
don't know.
Anyone?
Oh no.
They're gonna kill that poor woman. See, nobody cares. No.
I'm not. I need that's on my to watch list. I've not.
You've never seen it?
Not. Man.
Oh man, delete this episode. Anyway, so what do you think about that? It's an alternative thing. We're going from like generational ghosts, which I think is cool. And I do like where your head's at in terms of theme, where it's like he hasn't protected his women, or the men in his life haven't done it, and he finally now has to do it. Classic remasculator plot to this kind of raw, classic creature feature.
Yeah, I'm good with either. I feel like there's more logistics to find out with a materialist like monkey creature, where like the ghost you can kind of hand wavy, like people can't see it, and like it's like like I'm just trying to think of like one, the question of like how does the monkey track him down, but two, like where does the monkey go when it's not chasing him? Like, what is it doing?
Yeah, I mean, that's where it's like, it can be super intelligent. You know, again, the experimental stuff can take it to the next level. You can even construct the entire world to be, you know, this contained thriller thing where they're on a couple's retreat. He's finally falling for this woman, you know, they or maybe, you know, they're a couple or whatever, or maybe he's working at this retreat. I'm trying to put it somewhere tropical. But they have like monkey testing places hidden in the jungle there. And one of these things escapes and he like feeds it and gets to know it one night as like a worker at this resort. And then he starts falling for this girl there. Okay, now it's after him. So it's a little self-contained as opposed to it being like the monkey's just, you know, it's like where do the raptors go in Jurassic Park? They just go, you know, they're trying to find the people and you're running away. So it's way more imminent. The threat is way more imminent. And you could give her crazy powers too. Like, I mean, you could go crazy with it. You could have her shoot laser beams if you wanted to.
Yeah. She could talk if we wanted her to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like doing okay.
You pick.
No, I like it, man, but I'm just trying to make it work because the stakes of like, if he has a personal ghost, it doesn't matter that other people don't care and don't know what's happening. If a full monster monkey escapes, then it's like there has to be outside stakes in the world of other people being involved in this thing too.
That's true.
Which is like it's like if Jurassic World, Chris Pratt's running around, everyone's like, "What are you talking about, man?" And like no one cares at all, and like they're not completely unaffected by this story. Where the ghost is just like, oh, it's a ghost monkey. That's the solution.
That's actually, I mean, so that's what I was saying about introducing into Taylor's life when he's younger. It's like she gets experimented on brutally and becomes this other creature and then eventually dies. And then that like turns her into some sort of demon chimp. That's really weird. And maybe it mixes it too much for people. I think probably you really want your threats to be like, I can kill it with a bullet, or I need to like solve my problem. And that's the, you know, I need to like spiritually solve my problem. And that's the solution.
Yeah.
You know? I think that's the difference between the two, to be totally honest.
What's the difference?
That the Eve can be killed with a bullet, whereas, and that like has nothing to do with his character arc in any way.
Yeah.
Whereas the ghost is like intimately tied to the spiritual nature of his character arc. And I mean that in like the most character writerly way possible, that, you know, you have want and need. That want is something physical. I want to kill this chimp, or this ghost or whatever. But then the need is actually what he needed. I needed to get this curse off my back, or I wanted to get this curse off my back. But what I needed is to actually like move on from my dead mother. If that was the ghost, right? Yeah,
I'm starting to feel like maybe we just move towards the mother one, because I feel like that one has the most like immediate like makes sense. I feel like it could fit in the comedy, because I still want this to be a comedy.
That's fair.
I think the monkey is just like, I think it's cool and fun, but there's too much stuff to figure out to make because I also thought that, I was like, if it's just a monkey, like, is he just trying to shoot the monkey? Like, is that like the goal is like get a big gun and shoot the monkey? So let's double back. Let's build it a little around this mother thing. His mother was always super protective. It's not generational. It's just she was super protective. No, like even when he was dating as a kid, no girl was good enough. Maybe she scared off like a girlfriend, like another girlfriend, and they got into a heated argument, and there was some accident, and she
blew up.
She literally. Do you mean?
Literally blew up. Yeah, I imagine. I'm a sucker for a mom on an oxygen tank. you know, so she's just like, no,
you're a sucker. You're a sucker for that.
Oh, such a sucker. Such a sucker, dude. Yeah, she's like, no one's good enough for my Taylor. And then she's like smoking. And no, something else blows her up. Maybe something that Taylor forgot to do. You know, whatever it is.
You can still be Channing Tatum.
My candles, the candles for your daddy's altar or whatever that we have for him, his memorial altar. You know, he forgot to blow those out every night, and that's what lit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's like, yeah. And then she becomes like a weird curse on him.
Yes.
That she's like a monster version of her.
Yes.
Is destroying the things that it's like a weird like supernatural or monster version of Ghost of Girlfriend's Past a little bit, where it's not just trying to sabotage the thing. It's like she's gonna kill them, like she's going to kill these new loves in his life.
And
so then what's the like, and maybe this happens once or twice before we're in modern time with him, but what is the thing? What is his want and need? What is he trying to resolve? Because he has these issues with his mother, and she's overbearing, but like, what is his internal struggle then, his come to Jesus moment then?
I think he wants to stop being cursed, or wants to not have the problem. So that's why he's chosen to, you know, get away from everyone and everything. So he would be isolated. He'd be calloused, you know, he'd be cold, very turned off to love. And then you'd have to have the woman would have to be very insistent and like hunting him down. So she's kind of the active one, I feel like, because he's chosen to just be passive. Like, I'm not going to try.
Okay. Yeah. That makes him less of a jerk, because if he's just like, yeah, you might die. And then he's just the pursuing, like, I like that he's standoffish. And then we have this really kind of peppy, bubbly girl that's like kind of wiggling her way into his life to the point that he does fall in love with her. Maybe there's a scene like that where he's like, oh no. And she's like, what? He's like, I love you. And she's like, oh, and he's like, no, that's not, we got to get out of here.
Like the first time I say I love you kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's fun. Yeah. That's a fun trope where it's like, oh, I'm not usually the one who says this first. I'm not usually the one who says this at all. And, you know, she's like, what? And she's like, I have to tell you because you're in danger. I love you.
She's like, and then there's that swooning music, and he's like, we gotta go now, and like grabs her, and like they get in the car and they drive off, and like his house explodes or something that.
I like that his mom is like a Ghostbuster type ghost.
She's got like her oxygen tank is this big like laser, like she's like blasting.
She's like a fire-based ghost.
Yeah.
Because
like
maybe he went out on a date. That's the thing. He went out on a date with a girl that he wasn't supposed to see, and that's why his mom blew up. And so he has to he actually needs to forgive himself, I think.
Yeah.
That's the need.
And I think that works. And then it's very kooky. It's very funny, especially if we just don't tell any of this to the audience. Like they find out in media res, like when he says, oh, I love you. Man. We've got to get out of here. And then there's like, hey, I should have told you. There's a reason I was trying to make this not happen. My ghost mother kills anyone I fall in love with. And she's like, what? She's like, I still like this. It's like, well, fall out of love with me. He's like, it's too late. I love you. I can't fall out of love with you.
I love that. I mean, no pun intended. I love that. But I think it would be funny if you find out in the third act that she has a dad curse.
Oh, gosh.
And so then their ghosts like duke it out.
That actually is really funny. If not even the third act, like it could be the third act, but I think
it's a reveal.
It's a
reveal because that's why she's so forward, you know. Like she's like, I need to be with a guy to protect me. You know, she doesn't say that, but you know what I mean. It's like, and so she's rushing the love thing.
Yeah, and he's like pulling back. It's like what we were doing with him originally.
Yes.
Like, but they're just on two.
It makes her really active. So I feel like it's kind of her story.
Yeah, it's.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's kind of I think it's funny if we follow his perspective. Like he's kind of semi more main protagonist, and she's there too. And because it's really funny if he's like, I've got this curse. I don't know why she wouldn't like bring up her. Yeah, like, or yeah. I like the idea that she's kind of quirky and like that's like he kind of just she's like a Luna Lovegood kind of Harry Potter like.
Oh yeah.
But I love the scene of like them like hiding in some warehouse and like the mom ghost is like blasting fire blasts and they're like, and then there's like this big thud like in the on the other side of the house and they're like, what's that? And she's like, there's something I should have probably told you. And then like the door kicks open and it's like dad ghost with like a big like chain like and like sickle, and he's the protagonist is like, you've got to be kidding me. And there's like there's like two ghosts are like trying to like
both trying to kill them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That a lot.
That's very
as
funny.
As soon as the mom ghost figures out that the dad ghost is trying to kill her son, she would defend him.
Yeah, and likewise, I think then the two ghosts fight, but then it's like then the ghosts have the ghosts have like two missions. They're trying to kill the other, but they're also trying to protect the other. Like that's good. That's a lot of fun in games that you could have. There's a lot of funny scenes that you could have, like because I do picture them talking, like they like communicate. They're like, oh yeah, they're like, get away from my son, and like blast them with fire. It would be really funny if the two ghosts like became a couple, like hooked up at the end or
like
something.
They have a ghost baby.
This is your brother.
It's like
they're like ascending with the ghost baby. And then they're like, by the way, you two humans, you're kind of like brother and sister now, so just keep that in mind. And
that's actually true. That's actually true. Where it's like, we're like half siblings now. How does this work? I guess they'd be step siblings. Sorry.
Yeah, they're like, we're just, and then they're like, if they're ghosts, it doesn't count. It doesn't count, and they fall in love. I like that a lot. I don't know if we have any room for the ex-wife. I kind of think she doesn't make sense anymore. I really like just these two, this weird couple, and the two ghosts. That's really funny to me, man. It's so funny.
Yeah, that again, I think the later you pull that in, the better it is.
Yeah,
where you keep it secret and you really try and manage. That's where a lot of the ins and outs of actually writing this would be, is like managing, not revealing that she's cursed until it's perfect, and then like all the pieces fit together kind of thing, and knowing that basically they have the same curse, but one is from the fatherly perspective on the daughter and one is the motherly perspective on the son. That no one is ever good enough, I think is probably a pretty solid title.
Yeah. Oh no, nobody's good enough.
Yeah.
I could be good to that. I think that's the arc too, is that it's kind of almost the dynamic is neither of them have learned to love properly because of these weird curses. The ghosts never see anyone as good enough, but through this, it's like they have to really like be there for each other because they both know what the other's gone through. So they both can love each other in a more proper way. Yeah. And then the ghosts, like maybe that's the culmination at the end when they're like backs against the wall. They're like, you're just going to like, you die for her and you die for him. And then the ghosts realize like, oh, they are good enough for my kid. Like they're a decent person and they genuinely love them. And that kind of breaks the curse.
Yeah.
And
I think
then they have
one of them having to sacrifice themselves or jumping in between. Like, I think I have another title, but Taylor jumps in before the death blow, no pun intended, could be given to his mom ghost from the dad ghost, and he gets hit. And that resolves the mother thing, where the mother's like, you do love me.
Yeah.
And then the daughter comes to his side, and the dad like sees what he did for his mom. And there's something true there about, this is kind of a momism, but there's something true there about how a boy treats his mom is how he's going to treat his wife. Yeah. So that's where the dad ghost goes in his mind. He's like, oh, whoa. Like you would go up against me to protect your loved one, even though she's being awful to you. You got nothing in return, which is true love. Like he truly does love his mother.
I think it's a mixture of that and the daughter. You get that like scene of like tangled Rapunzel crying by the dying person. Like it's like he's watching his daughter like completely distraught, and it's like, oh, like you really cared for this guy. Like I think it can be a mixture of both of those things. Like in tandem, both curses get broken.
Yes.
Through this.
Yes, through both of those things. I love the idea that the dad ghost, I don't know, like he stabbed him with this like ghostly blade or pitchfork or whatever. And he's just like, it ain't even real, son. You know, and it's like, you know, he's like, I don't know why you're on the ground. It ain't even real. And he's just like, I don't know. This is the idea that like there's this all other lore with the ghosts is really funny to me. But
I think it's funny, man. I think the tone of Shaun of the Dead would be perfect for this. Like where it's like, hey, they are trying to survive, but it's just really goofy along the way. But I like this. What was the one title that you tentatively said?
Nobody's what is it? Nobody's good enough, which is close to Nobody's Perfect, which I don't like. A previous episode for those who don't know. No, the other one was Mama's Boy, which I know is like kind of stupid, but kind of good. Here for a minute.
I feel like
we're moving on to titles now, you know.
Yeah. I feel like something with Ghost could be like, or alluding to Ghost could be kind of fun. Let me look up ghost synonyms. Ghost synonym.
Yeah.
Spectre, phantom, spirit, soul, presence. Mommy's presence.
I mean, the mommy thing is just because that's the central one that we know exists. So going off of
like I feel like we don't have to say parents because we don't know until later. What about just like mommy's wrath?
Well, I thought mommy issues is a decent one, but that's like just a funny way to describe it. He's like, yeah, I've got mommy issues, because she's going to say she's got daddy issues. He's like, well, I got daddy issues.
Oh, that's funny because he just interprets her. They're both interpreting them as the literal way, but they both have ghosts. That's funny.
Yeah. I think that's good. I don't know if that's necessarily like perfect. Something, you know, romantic comedies nowadays feel like they need to have that kind of, I don't want to say meme speak, but just like slang. They need to have slang in the title. But maybe not. I mean, this is just like pretty classic comedy horror. Okay, so I think I got it. I think this is maybe a little obvious, and there probably is already a movie with this title, but I think ghosting in terms of like relationship terms and stuff like that really fits. It's also what he would be doing for the beginning kind of prologue of the movie. That's how he chooses to deal with it, is that you know, he gets close to girls and then he just ghosts them, which obviously, because he has his mama a ghost, you know, coming up with her whatever oxygen tank method of killing them. Yeah, she fought my last girlfriend.
Yeah, I like it. I think ghosting works because, it makes sense with the story. It has ghosts in the title.
Yeah.
I picture the thing of, I always picture the poster art of these, and I picture like the couple, and then like just like a ghost mother with like her big fire blaster behind them or something like that.
Yeah, her oxygen tank just like kind of flames.
Yeah, just like shooting stuff with her oxygen tank. I like it, man. Ghosting. I like where we landed. This is I feel like I would watch this movie. It seems funny.
Yeah, I would definitely watch this with my wife. That's for sure. And I know this is a little bit like on the very edge of a world building episode. So it's funny that you bring that up because we spent so much time kind of workshopping the monster, but it ultimately landed in a really good spot. That's, I think, very familiar. Doesn't seem too weird. You know, you can go a little too weird with that kind of stuff, but
I think we got it to a funny place. Like, when you first brought up the mother ghost, I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I've seen that joke done, but her being like a fire blasting, like snarky, like
style
Ghostbusters. Yeah, when you said Ghostbusters style, it kind of started clicking more in my head.
Red, and then the dad is blue. I don't know. I feel like it's a very, it takes place in the Ghostbusters universe. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Now we just need a title, man.
Well, we have a title, Ghosting. You mean a line.
Oh, sorry. I don't mean a title. I mean, we need a line.
Yeah.
We need it along the line. I think I've got a line. I got a line.
Okay. All right. Give it to me.
I think this is when the father ghost his curse is being lifted. So he's not trying to kill the guy anymore. He's still kind of like his last little conversation with them before he goes. He says, the reason I was always able to kill those other guys in her life was because that love wasn't strong enough. But you've got the real thing.
That's good. Yeah, and
the music
that fits well. Yeah, the music, boom. Love is eternal, baby. He says that. Love is eternal, baby. I'll see y'all when you get here.
And he just floats. He floats off. Yeah. He's like, see you in heaven, baby.
Anyway,
see you in heaven, baby.
I'll see you in heaven and you in hell. Oh, no, he says that to the mom. He's like, and I'll see you in heaven too.
It's just like,
heaven ain't big enough for the two of us. Hell, heaven ain't big enough for her.
So dumb. Thank you all for listening to StoryFellas, a part of the Pemmican Studios podcast network. Check out our show notes for bonus material, links, and more. To find out more about our current projects, send us messages, and suggest ideas for the show, go to storyfellaspodcast.com. If you liked what you heard, share the show with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this community. Until next time, go make and break those stories.